Twitter CEO Elon Musk has responded to news from yesterday that the platform reportedly canceled a deal with the Daily Wire to stream the What is a Woman film. Musk said this was a mistake by many people at Twitter. Twitter first responded to the Daily Wire's request for a deal enthusiastically and offered the Daily Wire a package to purchase a page for Twitter users to watch the film. But the social media company asked to first view a screening of the film, and Daily Wire CEO Jeremy Boring said, after reviewing the film, Twitter let us know that not only could we no longer purchase the package they offered, they would no longer provide us any support and would actually limit the reach of the film and label it as hateful conduct because of misgendering.
So after Musk said the deal cancellation was a mistake, he added, "It's definitely allowed whether or not you agree with using someone's preferred pronouns. Not doing so is at most rude and certainly breaks no laws. I should note that I do personally use someone's preferred pronouns, just as I use someone's preferred name, simply from the standpoint of good manners. However, for the same reason, I object to rude behavior, ostracism, or threats of violence if the wrong pronoun or name is used. We're updating the system tomorrow so that those who follow Real Daily Wire will see this in their feed, but it won't be recommended to non-followers, nor will any advertising be associated with it." So an interesting statement from Musk. I like the framing of I use someone's preferred pronouns as good manners. I think that he has this approach to being not neutral politically, but I don't know, kind of placating. He's like, yeah, I'm going to let the Daily Wire say what they want to say. We shouldn't have canceled the What is a Woman thing from, airing or being shown on Twitter. But also I use someone's preferred pronouns, so I disagree with them on this point. It's a really interesting kind of both sides approach from Elon Musk, but people were really upset about it. They were like, hey, you had this platform, you said you were going to do a free speech thing. We wanted to say some stuff on there, and we were not allowed to. And so I think he's already broken that trust, even if this is a statement that should supposedly make both sides happy.
Yeah, and I think this is why people were kind of skeptical of Elon Musk purchasing Twitter in the first place in terms of how much change he could actually affect, because Twitter is a huge bureaucracy. I mean, it's just a large company, and it has tons of employees who obviously are not necessarily going to sign on to the new vision that Musk is trying to bring, which is one that allows various viewpoints to be expressed and not suppressed on Twitter. But when you have a content moderation department that might be filled with people who are a bit overzealous or people who have their own political proclivities that don't necessarily align with those of the Daily Wire and who are a bit trigger happy to censor things that they disagree with, then it takes a long time to get those people out or to get them signed on to the idea that Twitter is going to be an open platform for discussion. So clearly there's still work to do based on the fact that this film premiere or whatever it was, watch party, was censored in the first place, but I was glad to see Elon Musk apologize and try to make it right.
Yeah, I think it's weird to me that we're entering in this era where so many people want to do like show type programming on Twitter. So Tucker Carlson, I think, was the first one where we were like, how is that even going to work? And then DeSantis going on Twitter to launch his presidential campaign, which didn't go so well. It's definitely seeming like Twitter is trying to become a different sort of media company than just here are some quick takes in text format. And I don't think Elon Musk has completely sorted out what that looks like, because it seems like these one-off deals are with people like Tucker Carlson, like DeSantis, like the Daily Wire. It's not consistent in, offering the same kind of media capabilities to all of the users without just the usual, pay for the blue check mark.
Yeah, and not to mention the technical difficulties that have been popping up. I don't feel like Twitter as a platform is prepared to host these types of really large events in a way that people are able to access them without glitches, without the site crashing. It just doesn't seem like it has that capability yet. So I think it's a fine vision to have Twitter be some kind of new digital media company as opposed to just a platform for people to tweet their thoughts. But it has to be obviously gamed out in a way that it's actually going to work when people try to do this. I mean, my biggest concern for the DeSantis launch was that Spaces, even with just a dozen people in it crash all the time. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened. People were trying to get into the space they couldn't get in. Some people's mics were muted when they weren't supposed to be muted, and it basically turned into a disaster. So if you're someone who's planning on launching a movie or a show on Twitter, that would definitely give me pause. And if this is an avenue that Elon Musk is going down to help boost the profit of Twitter, in addition to the Twitter Blue subscription service where people now have to pay for the blue check mark, he has to sort out all of these technical difficulties before people start throwing money at the service to try to air their media content.
Yeah, I don't think it's a break from any kind of standard in media or just in the application of our right to free speech to remove hate speech. But I think a lot of people have different definitions of what hate speech might be. Elon Musk clearly takes a stance. He's like, I think it's polite to use the right pronouns for someone, but I draw the line when you try and ostracize someone for not using preferred pronouns. But I think there's also some level of ostracization happening when you have someone who identifies with a different gender identity than their sex assigned at birth, and then people say terrible things to them, which happens on Twitter quite a bit. And so I don't know what the nature of the film was, but for a media company to say there were things in this that were hateful, hate speech is an exception to your right to free speech. Things that harm others are usually exceptions to someone exercising their own rights and civil liberties, right? You should be able to do what you want to do so long as you're not hurting anyone else. I think we all have different ideas of what is hurtful when it comes to what names you can call someone. And that's really causing a lot of political division right now. But when it comes to what you can show on a particular platform, in a free market where it's a private company, they have that jurisdiction. And so it's interesting to me that it's always the folks, especially the Daily Wire, that are advocates for this kind of very neoclassical, very politicized view of the economy, that the government should have no role in regulating commerce. But then when a big media company wants to use their power as a private company to make decisions, suddenly you believe that's unjust and your way of looking at it should be imposed. That's something I can't get behind from the Daily Wire and folks like Ben Shapiro.
Yeah, and a big portion of the new right is about acknowledging that there should be regulation of corporations within reason, insofar as it helps foster competition between businesses and doesn't play favorites, and also breaks up monopolies and other trusts. In this case, what you mentioned about hate speech, I just want to go back to for a second, because I think you kind of almost got there when you said that people's conception of what hate speech is differs, and that's exactly why I think it's kind of meaningless as a category towards content moderation. Because if words are somehow harmful to people in the sense that it can cause them physical discomfort, then that is an arbitrary standard for whether or not something should be not allowed, because people take offense to different things all the time. And I think what Elon Musk is trying to get Twitter to a place where harassment and threats are basically the only reason that people would be removed from the platform. And to me, that just seems like a more consistent standard. I'm someone who will not necessarily use someone's pronouns because I don't like to be forced to reject reality. So it's not a question of trying to be particularly rude to someone, but just from a moralistic standpoint, I don't want to be compelled to reject the truth of someone's existence. And so that's where I stand on the issue. So I disagree with Elon Musk on that. And I think it would be a shame if people like the Daily Wire post a video and they don't use someone's preferred pronouns, or even in some cases, people mistakenly use the wrong pronouns for people who might differ on a day-to-day basis, and they're punished for that.
What do you think about Elon Musk's analogy of, calling someone by their preferred name or the name everybody calls them by versus their legal name? Do you only go by the legal name because you don't want to deny reality?
Well, I think the reality of biological sex is different than a name that's written on a birth certificate, because that is not an intrinsic truth, right? That's what a parent said a child was, whereas biology is an innate characteristic that cannot be changed.
So you think that someone can't change their sex at all and everybody's sex is always very clear at birth? I have looked into this, right? The new medical language around really identifying someone's sex properly at birth, there's not always a full analysis of what their anatomy actually is on the inside. And there are many cases where it's not straightforward, actually, that someone is born with one sex or another. And it's more than just the organs, which occasionally are not consistent. It's also the chemical makeup within someone and their hormones. And so we're learning that we actually don't even understand biological sex as much as we thought we did, and that it's not as clear cut, and that it's a little bit more than just the social idea of gender and what someone might identify and feel like. That there's actually biological factors to that as well. So I don't know. Like I call someone by their pronouns because it seems polite, as Elon Musk said. It seems like antisocial to me to make someone feel weird because I'm calling them by words that they don't feel like describe them. I just don't want to make people feel uncomfortable or sad. I don't feel like I'm denying I'm denying reality or their identity by doing that.
You're referring to the intersex condition, which is basically just a condition in which doctors are not able to use secondary sex characteristics in order to make a sex determination. But typically intersex people do have one presentation or one sex that is a stronger indication of what they are than the other. It's just that they can't tell at birth because they haven't grown those secondary sex characteristics. And of course, that's also a medical anomaly. It doesn't reject the existence of a gender binary for the vast majority, 99.9% of people. I think we're out of time on this, unfortunately, but we'll be back with more Rising after this.